Welcome to Hot Topics Live. It's Monday, 2 p.m. inside our Facebook group and live over on YouTube. And that means that it's time for Hot Topics. And boy, oh boy, do we have a really fun Hot Topics this week. So on Sunday in the Facebook group, I asked a question: what was the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you since you've been baking? And I felt a little sad as I was reading your comments because I have been there. And so in honor of this being my birthday week, I thought, what a better way to just kind of bring it all in and celebrate a little bit than looking at my past failures. So today on Hot Topics Live, we're going to be taking a look back at my 5 biggest mistakes that I've made over 30 years as a baker and how they've changed me and what I learned from it. So if you love the dish, the tea, this is going to be a really fun Hot Topics because I'm going to share 5 really embarrassing things that I have done over my career and actually what I've learned from them too. So welcome to Hot Topics Live. Let's jump right in. So if you know me at all, then you probably know that I attribute my success as a home-based baker to learning from my mistakes. Everything that has gone wrong has somehow turned into a new policy, a new checklist, and I love a good checklist. And it's helped me to just get better at what I'm doing. And so today I'm going to look back over the past 30 years, celebrating 55 on Friday, the big 5-5. So the past 30 years of my baking career and working for myself, working for other bakeries and running my own business and sharing those 5 biggest mistakes, laughable mistakes that have happened to me along the way. So let's jump right in, all right? This is going to be fun. First big mistake, yeah, this is painful just to think about. So when I had my baking business, I had a delivery van. My cupcake business was called Billy Vanilli, for those of you who don't know. And the van that I delivered in, it was so cute. It was like a town and country type of like family van, but the seats were out and it had like vinyl stickers all over it with really delicious looking cupcakes, and it was just really fun. People loved it when I pulled up in that delivery van, and we called it the Billy van. And it had its own Facebook page, and then we would go out on these routes where you could sort of pre-order your cupcakes and we'd drive them out around, and made it really fun when we were going to show up. Usually would take 2 people on the route, and it was just people liked being scheduled for the Billy Van route. So I am always pushing that envelope of how to make more sales, and I had this brilliant idea to take the van out to a location that already had a lot of other people. And so there was a new Chipotle Mexican burrito place. You guys know what Chipotle is, obviously. And a long line of people waiting to get their lunch during the kind of lunch rush hour. And this is a nicer shopping center. It had like a high-end gourmet grocery store, a brand new Chipotle. It was nice. So we just set up shop in the parking lot. We pulled up and found a good parking place, and I had this little like portable checkout station that I would set up, and then we had all the cupcakes pre-packaged in these containers. And yeah, a lot of times I do something first and then figure it out later, and this is exactly what happened because we were, really selling the cupcakes, chatting with the people, having a great time when the store owner of the Chipotle came out and said, do you have a permit to be selling here? And I said, no. And he said, we pay a lot of rent to be in this exclusive shopping center, and if you're not paying rent and you're selling here, then you are trespassing. And he was absolutely right. And he not so kindly told us to leave now. So that was a big learning experience and kind of embarrassing because there were people in line who wanted cupcakes and watched me get yelled at. So that is my mistake number one. And I have to say, from that experience, I really learned like not to dwell on my fears. I went outside my comfort zone and said, let's try something new. I have no idea how it's going to go. So that was an embarrassing one, I have to say. And he was totally right. I just didn't do my homework before I started, and I was just really trying new ways to reach people. So we'll call that brave mistake number one. Now, speaking of finding new ways to reach your customers, have you downloaded my new freebie yet? It's called 8 Tried and True Ways to Grow Your Home Bakery. And I'll drop the link in the comments if you're watching here on Facebook, and if you're over on YouTube, I'll drop the link over there as well. And if you don't find the link, just comment the number 8 and I'll send you a link to go get that freebie, because it is full of 8 methods that really work for growing your, reaching more customers in your home bakery. And yeah, some of those ideas came out of these brave mistakes. All right, let's do brave mistake number 2. So this was a time when gender reveals, it was probably in the beginning of the trend for gender reveals, and when you would put the color of the gender of the baby, pink for girl, blue for boy, inside the cake or cupcakes. And the way it worked when I had a retail store was that my customers would go to their doctor visit, get the results in this sealed envelope, and bring it to us. And then we would make the cake, they'd come pick it up, they'd go have their party, and we knew before they did what the gender was. So that was pretty common. I did a lot of those, but in the beginning, when I was just working out the details, well, you know, when you're coloring buttercream, you need a lot of food coloring, and I didn't want there to be any mistake that this was pink. So I was coloring my buttercream. My cake was already baked, frozen layers. It was ready to like frost and put together, and the pickup was within an hour. And I did not wear gloves when I was coloring my buttercream pink. So my hands were just covered in pink, and those gel colors don't come off. If you have ever made that mistake, you know they stick around for a while. So I'm finishing up the cake, my hands are all pink, and the customers are walking into the store to pick up their order. They don't want to know the gender until their party, and I was the only one that was going to ring them up with pink hands. So I quickly threw on my yellow dishwashing gloves and handed them their cake box, and I don't think they ever knew why I was wearing dishwashing gloves when I gave them their order. But yes, I really learned my lesson. Every time you make a mistake, it is really a learning opportunity in disguise. And lesson learned, wear gloves when you're coloring your frosting. All right, let's move on to brave mistake number 3. Yeah, this one also hurts a little bit to think about, and it was a huge learning opportunity for me. When I first started in the wedding industry, baking wedding cakes and cupcakes, I was really, I take it really seriously. It's such an important day for a lot of people. The emotions run high and things just need to be perfect. And I would only take one wedding on the weekend. You know, you want to fuss over it, pack it right, deliver it, set it up. It takes a lot to pull off a successful wedding cake or cupcakes or treats. And I would only take one a weekend so I could really focus on it. And then the next year I said, I think I can do 2 in a weekend. And I felt really confident about that. And in fact, the first time I did 2 weddings, I took 2 assistants with me, 3 of us to do 2 weddings. I was really taking a lot of precautions to get every single detail right. You don't want to forget a thing. And I kept growing and growing until the point where I was taking 5 wedding cakes a weekend. And this one event in particular made me realize that 4 was my limit, 5 was too many because I was behind all day. I had an assistant helping me decorate cakes, and I had to go leave and deliver them. So I would decorate a little and then run a delivery, and then, you know, super high stress. And she was running behind all day. This was a 6-tier square cake, and square cakes are notoriously difficult to get smooth corners and smooth edges and stacked properly. And by the time it was time to leave for this 5th event, it was an evening event, so we had all our morning ones out. We were not even done just getting a crumb coat on 3 of those layers. So I had her sit in the back of the van, driving to the location, frosting it in the car, and it did not go well. I mean, we got the cake there and we set it up, but it just was not up to standard, and the bride and groom's family were disappointed, and that really didn't help because I was upset, my decorator was upset, and the bride and groom were upset. So I pushed the limits of how much I could bake. I wonder if any of you have ever pushed the limits of how much you can bake and you've really overdone it. And that really told me it's not about how much money you can make all the time. It's not about taking an extra order. Sometimes it's about just getting it right. And that was my wake-up call. And I still, to this day, feel so bad about this couple's wedding. So hopefully they got over it. I don't know that I fully have. So yeah, that's brave mistake number 3. Let's put that one in the past. What did I learn from that? I learned to slow down and not take so many orders sometimes, especially when it's a wedding. Okay, this one's a little bit more fun. We'll pick up the energy level here with brave mistake number 4. So we're recapping the most embarrassing things that happened to me over the course of 30 years of baking, and all in good fun, because sometimes if we can't laugh at ourselves and just commiserate with a group of people who understand, then you know, life's too serious to not be able to laugh at yourself sometimes. So brave mistake number 4, this was one time when I had, again, a retail store. So I know that the retail stories don't always apply to everyone, but I think the baking element of it can. And in this instance, I had a I was in a shopping center where I was kind of the anchor store of this shopping center. I had a lot of parking spaces. We filled up. I mean, it was a nice arrangement, and a new cafe came in, and she was about 4 doors down from me, and she sold cookies and cinnamon rolls, and I felt that it was a little bit of competition, and that was okay because I knew who her customers were and who my customers were, and I think we were going to find sort of a comfort level there. But she put her grand opening sign like right in front of my store. It looked like it was my grand opening. So I happened to know the city code for where you can put signs, and hers was not there legally. This was like a right-of-way thing, and anyway, I made a big deal out of it. But I went out, I took her sign down, I marched into her shop, and I was like, you can't put that sign there. And afterwards, I felt super embarrassed about it. I was embarrassed of how mad I got. But you have to be willing to voice your opinion, right? You have to be willing to stand up for yourself, stand up for your baking business, and voice your opinion when you feel that you've been wronged. And I guess that's what I learned out of that. Brave mistake number 4. Okay, you guys, this is kind of hard. It's harder than I thought to read these off. All right, let's move on to number 5. This is a good one to end on. Okay, so when I was opening my second shop, when I first started this chain of cupcake stores, I am a big believer in like grassroots marketing, guerrilla marketing. Do anything you can to be talked about, and what do they say? That as long as people are talking about you, then that's good marketing, right? However that phrase goes. Well, so I decided to attempt to make the world's largest cupcake for the Guinness Book of World Records. And I just thought, even if I don't do it, people will talk about it. And it was really fun to try, except that I underestimated how much work that was actually going to be. And so the way that I did it was I took my largest cake pan that would fit in my oven, which was 16-inch round cake pan, and I just kept baking layers and layers and layers and layers of them for the base, and then I was going to stack it, and it was just going to be this huge carved cake. And that's what I did. But as I was putting it together, I was just, baking these layers and stacking them, and I was realizing, like, this is really heavy. And the media was out in front, and the ribbon cutting was about to happen, and I could not carry this cake out to where it was supposed to be. So I very quickly called up my husband and all of my friends, and I was like, can anybody come by right now? I need to make an entrance with this world's largest cupcake, but I can't carry it. So everyone came down and helped me out, and it was amazing. It was great. It was really, really fun. I was so glad I did it. And I guess my moral from that one is, don't be afraid to ask for help. Try hard things and ask for help. And there is a really funny ending to that story of the world's largest cupcake. So that whole event went over amazingly, and I was exhausted after the grand opening, the ribbon cutting, the world's largest cupcake, which we cut and served to all the people that showed up for our grand opening. And I went home exhausted, and I had used up all of my sugar, all of my eggs, all of my butter, and there was our Kroger grocery store on the way. That's what my plan was, is I'm just going to go home, put my feet up, sleep it off, and on my way in the morning, I would stop at the grocery store and buy more of what I need to open the next day. And I was going in pretty early. I had a lot to do, so about 4 a.m. I got up, I drove to the grocery store, and I had all the cake flour they had in stock, a bunch of eggs, a bunch of butter, and all that stuff. And the cashier was like, of course I was kind of sleepy. It was 4 a.m. and I wasn't really paying that much attention. And the cashier was like, what are you buying all this stuff for? You trying to bake the world's largest cupcake like that one lady did? And I was like, wait, what? And then she picked up the cover of the newspaper, and she said, this lady, she's crazy, isn't she? I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me. I made it on the cover of the newspaper in the city that I lived in, Topeka Capital Journal. I was on the cover of the paper with my world's largest cupcake, and I didn't even know it until I went to the grocery store that morning. So that one, I feel like the mistake was just underestimating how big that cupcake was, but it was really a win, because I tried something really hard. I got on the cover of the paper, and to me it was worth the cost of all of those ingredients that I gave away, because I had massive publicity the next day. We were swamped. So it was a kind of a happy ending to that story. All right, now these 5 mistakes are my worst ones that I could think of, but I wanted to share this just to kind of have a laugh and sort of look back at what you can learn when you do something brave. So what can you do that's outside your comfort zone that will really push you to the next level? Don't forget to check out that 8 tried and true ways to grow your baking business. It's a freebie that is hot off the press. I just made it in honor of many things. Birthday week, and this group hitting over 2,000 members now, which is so wonderful that we are just this growing community of people that support each other and learn about how to grow your baking business. So thank you so much for joining today, and I'll see you next week, same time, same place.